Hi, Democrats. Today is Thursday, July 27th, and it's time for the Chair's Daily Live. Happy Thursday. Alrighty, so I'm going to start by talking about local issues. Today, the Oklahoma State Department of Education had an open meeting where the notice was sent well in advance, all that kind of good stuff. However, the room had a capacity of 49. Our superintendent of public instruction loaded the room with 36 or 37 of his closest fans, sycophants, and employees. And so for the public, there were about 10 people who were allowed into this open meeting. That was a statewide meeting. And so 10 people, and people started lining up for that meeting at 10 before, 5:50 a.m. 5:50 a.m., people were lining up for 10 slots. This is not theater. This is real life. I just wish that our superintendent of public instruction would be grounded in reality and take his job seriously. Remember that his job is to bolster, improve, support public instruction. Not to figure out how he can get more clicks, not to figure out how he can get on national TV, not to figure out how he can make me come on here every day and say that he's derelict in his duties, that he is not doing the job, he is not qualified for the job, and Oklahoma is in trouble. We are number 49 in education, and stunts like this explain why. We're I think it's number 50 in outcomes for children. Stunts like this is why. Focus on the job, sir. If you want to be a television star, there are different paths to get there. You don't have to go this route to get yourself on TV. There are different ways to get there. I watch local news. They are changing over photojournalists all the time. There's, just when I get used to who's on the news, it's somebody else. If you want to be on the news, that's how you do it. But all of these stunts that are not helping public instruction need to stop. I promised if I was going to mention him, I was going to remind everyone that he's not doing his job. And I'm going to say some words that I haven't said in a really long time. Class wallet. Class wallet. Before he had the job he has now, he was put in charge of making sure that Class Wallet, which were the COVID dollars that were sent to make sure that kids could continue to learn, even though we all had to be remote because of COVID, because of the pandemic. And he let it just go to pot, and people were ordering Christmas trees and lawnmowers because their kids apparently couldn't learn unless the lawn was mowed or they had merriment in the house. I'm not sure, but people were buying TVs, barbecue grills, lawnmowers, vacuum cleaners with money that was meant for education, and that was under Ryan Walters' watch. Someone accused me on Twitter of blaming everything that's wrong in the world on Ryan Walters. I do not. I blame most of what is wrong with public education today. Not the stuff that has been building, not the stuff that is systemic, but the stuff that, all it takes is a quick Google search to see that he touched. I blame him for that. I blame him for Class Wallet. I blame him for the rhetoric that he's putting out here to make it sound like public schools are horrible and horrible places in favor of private schools. I blame him for that, the things that he has touched. So there we go. On other local news, Governor Stitt has signed whatever order he needs to sign to send 50 of Oklahoma's National Guard troops to Texas to guard the southern border. 50. I guess our southern border needs to be guarded. We need to keep a sovereign nation. I get all of that. My question is, why now? Folks crossing the southern border are down at the lowest numbers in 5 years. Why now? We now have those razor barrels where people who are trying to cross in a way they're not supposed to be trying to cross, but they're trying to cross, and these barrels are floating in the water, and they're wrapped in razor wire. And if that razor wire hits them, it cuts them to shreds. And as I've told everybody who's asked me about it today, I believe that Oklahomans are good people, even though you look at our politics and it's hard to believe, but I believe that Oklahomans are good people. I believe that just like the folks who are down there now, the Oklahoma National Guard's folks will be down there guarding our border, and they see someone get hurt by the razor wire. I believe that they'll go in and help. And so we're just putting more people at risk, deliberately, unnecessarily so. So we're sending 50 people to the national border, to the southern border, 50 of our National Guard to the southern border to protect the border. Now, when the rates of crossing the border are gone down. And then we're going to send them again. Apparently the agreement is we're going to send 50 now, and we're going to send some more a little bit later. In the governor's explanation, he said that he thinks it's necessary to protect the southern border, to protect Oklahoma. I just had to give his side. I can't add any reason to it. I can't, but I'm trying to be fair. Alrighty, on national news, I do want to talk about national news. I keep talking about this because I'm so excited, and I don't think it's being talked about enough. Because of President Biden's policies, practices, and focus, the U.S. economy accelerated this last quarter higher than expected. They expected an acceleration of 2.0%, but it was accelerated at a point of 2.4%. Which means this recession that we've been hearing about for the last 3 years following COVID, because of how money was spent and how people weren't making money and all that kind of stuff, they were predicting a recession. Well, now the feds are saying we may not get that recession because the economy is so strong right now. It is so strong, particularly in comparison to what we've had. I'll remind you, inflation has dropped 12 straight months. It went from 9 to 3%. It didn't drop from 9 to 8 3/4. It went from 9 to 3% in the last year, and that's because of the policies that President Bidenomics have put into place. Consumer spending is up. Personal income has increased. Wages are up, and that's even when corrected for COVID. Wages are higher than they were pre-COVID. There are 4 million jobs. So we've added a total of, I don't remember the number, 13.2 million jobs since President Biden has been president. And I see it all over Twitter where people are like, well, that's because they made people not go to work because of COVID and blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah. There are a lot of people who weren't working because of COVID. But that 13.2 includes 4 million jobs above and beyond what we had on the books before COVID. So he's added all the COVID jobs back plus 4 million. Bidenomics is working. Regardless of how they're, I watch Twitter and I see particularly the Republican Congress people out of Oklahoma complain about our economy, complain about inflation, complain about how horrible it is. And the reality is unemployment is down. Inflation is down. Jobs are up. Consumers have more money in their pockets, and they're spending more money. That's what an economy looks like. Now, I don't know what they're talking about. Now, I do know what they're talking about. When we talk about these kind of numbers, jobs being up, wages being up, inflation being down, those numbers affect the 99%. Those numbers affect people who are waiting on their next paycheck. Now, folks who get a lot of their income from, I don't even know where, because I don't even know the 1%. But those folks aren't seeing it. They're not feeling these changes because they didn't lose their job. They could work remotely, right? These kinds of things didn't affect them. President Biden has been talking about how he's building from the middle out and from the bottom up, which makes up the majority of Americans. And so for those of us who are in the middle and out, or who are working our way up from the bottom up, we feel that unemployment is down and wages are up and we have more money in our pocket. We feel it, and we know, you know how we know we can feel it, what the indices is, how much money we're spending. And so they will talk, and you have to be careful who you're listening to. So if you're listening to somebody rich who's saying that the economy is not good and the economy is horrible, they're not talking about you and me. They're talking about for their rich friends. And I have some rich friends, a few. And I feel bad for them that they're not feeling it as much, but they also didn't feel the COVID crunch as much. So, economy is better under Bidenomics. Think about that. You know the question, are you better off? America is better off than it was before COVID. America is better off than it was before Biden. And that's what you have to think about as you go into this next election cycle. Are you better off? You are. Unemployment is down. Wages are up. That's what I want you to think about. So when your uncle from wherever who you don't want to spend Thanksgiving with calls you a groomer, remind them that A, they're making crap up, but B, the economy's great. Thanks for joining me, and I'll be back here tomorrow at 4:15.